Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cody Underground. It's April 24th, 2014. I am Cody Willard and this is Cody Underground. Today I got a special treat for you guys. One-on-one I go with Gerald Celente, publisher of TrendsJournal.
Let me just introduce. Gerald Celente is I consider him a friend. He's been a frequent guest on my old show, Happy Hour, and I've stayed in touch with him since I left Fox, and mainly because he's brilliant, and he's famous for forecasting trends and talking about geopolitical ramifications and forecasts and economic outlooks and just general commentary about the state of society, too. So I'm thrilled to have Gerald Celente join me today. He is the publisher of TrendsJournal, and we're going to jump right in and let him talk a little bit first about what are you forecasting for the rest of this year, Gerald, and say maybe into next year for both the economy and any major geopolitical flashpoints that you're worried about.
Well, before I go any further, I just want to let you know that Happy Hour was one of the best shows on TV. And that's no Harvard line. I mean, I was on everybody, Oprah, the Today Show. I was just on every show out there, and that was the neatest show around.
Well, thank you so much. We loved having you because you also had fun with us. It wasn't a dry format.
No, how could it be a dry format when you're sitting around a bar?
It was, I have to say, it was a brilliant concept, and it was I loved it while it lasted, but truly, I don't know that TV was my calling. I much more enjoy being underground and being an entrepreneur, doing the things I'm doing with Scutify.com and trading with Cody.com and some of my other ventures.
Well, I just want to let you know that was... there's been nothing like it before or since, and every show out there is dry and they're packaged and there's no life in them, So anyways.
Well, I really appreciate the kind words, but this isn't about me today, for sure, Gerald. Can you please dive right in?
Okay.
What is your forecast?
All right. Well, the forecast on the economic front, everybody knows the story. And if they follow you, everybody knows the deal. As long as they keep dumping in cheap money into the system, whether it's coming from China, whether it's coming from this European Central Bank, whether it's coming from the Federal Reserve, as long as they keep pumping dough into the system, it's going to keep going on. It's a Ponzi scheme. And the other thing is, of course, these record low interest rates. Well, the only people that they're enriching are the traders and the banks and the financiers. You're seeing the merger and acquisition, the M&A markets booming because of all the cheap dough. The same thing with real estate. Oh, look what just happened. The new numbers came out on new homes. They're down. I wonder why they went down. Well, the prices have gone, the houses have gone up, and the mortgage rates are going up. So as long as they keep dumping money into the system, keep interest rates low, it's going to continue to look the way it is now.
What would be the catalyst for the change? And do we have to have a heartache, a crash, a crisis for the next foundation, something a little more healthy of a economic and political foundation for our country and the globe itself? What's the process? How do we get to something better, or do we just keep inflating these bubbles like you're talking about until there's the biggest crisis, crash, depression of all time?
Nothing is going to change, I believe, at this. I've been at this now 35 years. And I don't see it changing until the individuals change. It's that 100th monkey syndrome, the story about, how they taught a monkey how to do something in an island, then all the monkeys did it. And then then in an island that was very far away, the monkeys started doing it as well. And right now, they say that the fish rots from the head down. When you look at the major governments around the world, they're run by fish at the head that are rotted. I mean, really. I mean, you want to...
I don't disagree. I just love the phraseology. I mean, they're rotten fish heads. And that's what we have for leadership around the world in any developed country. But so, address it, though. Do we have to have a crisis and a crash? Are they going to...
No, you see, I don't believe in that. I believe that if you have a crisis or a crash, things could get worse and then get much worse after that. Just because things get worse there doesn't mean they get better. It's kind of like a person, going back again to the individual. Let's say a person, doesn't take care of themselves, they're obese, they eat a lot of crappy food, they drink too much, and then they go, they get hit with a health crisis. How many people really, really change their lifestyle after the crisis? And how many continue to go on their old ways? So what I'm saying is a crisis could even bring in more draconian measures. It could become much worse. So I don't see it changing like that. Again, to me, where I am at in my point of life, it's going to have to take a national movement of people, regardless of the country you're from. Look,
I don't mean to interrupt, but you're making such an important point there. You're saying that national movement doesn't have to be catalyzed by some sort of depression or crisis or crash. It's not just stock market, not just economic, not just social, but we can actually get on a better trajectory path from here without the crisis needing to be the impetus.
Absolutely. And again, the vacuum has never been larger. I mean, you know me, I'm a political atheist. I look at both parties, I mean, they're the Bloods and the Crips. And I don't mean it facetiously. They're murderers and they're thieves. How many more wars do they have to start? How many more people do they have to kill before people call them murderers? How much more money do they have to steal from us before they call them thieves?
You have no idea how many times I would get stopped in the elevator and hallways at Fox, or when I would go do appearances at any ABC or any other channel ever, and they would say to me, can you please pull back a little bit on your political rhetoric when you're calling the Republican-Democrat regime a bunch of warmongering murderers? Cody, that's really radical. And I would look at these people and be like, no, the warmongering and murdering that the Republican-Democrat regime is doing is what's radical.
And it goes back again to the question. Look at what the people would look, the same thing happens with me all the time, and I don't get invited back, because they don't want to hear it. But again, going back to the question, does a crisis have to happen? Here you have what you would think are people that are intelligent calling you a radical as they keep buying the crap and supporting it.
Correct. And propagandizing it for it in that case when it's in the hallways of a television network.
Exactly. So that's why I keep going back to it's the people. It's the people.
How do we get to this better platform that is non-Republican, non-Democrat? As far as I'm concerned, I'm radical enough to be anti-partisan at all. I don't want there to be parties. I want people to be free-thinking. I think there's enough of a literate base in this country that people can write in who they want to be elected, and we'll just take whoever gets the most votes in each thing.
Well, I agree with you. And again, I would not use that term radical. As you said, the radicals are the ones that are the murderers and the thieves.
Thank you for clarifying and straightening me out there. You're right.
And so going back to it, all right, here's number one. The new TrendsJournal is going to be coming out on Monday. And I'm starting a movement. It's called Occupy Peace. And it's going to be the website, we're building it as we speak, occupypeace.us. This is only for Americans because on top of Occupy Peace is no foreign entanglements.
Oh,
I'm
wow. That is a good platform and basis that you're starting with there. I keep going.
So here we are. I'm speaking from Colonial Kingston, New York. And this is the foundation of as part of the foundation of the Revolutionary War was right here. I mean, the British burnt this joint down in 1777. This is
by the way, you're talking to me in Lincoln County, New Mexico, not famous only for the Lincoln County Wars with Billy the Kid, but I still am best friends with kids whose last names are Geronimo, Larry Geronimo, and others who also are part of the revolutionary national movement concept that you're talking about. I wanted to connect some dots there.
Well, that's great. And that's what we're talking about. Again, the people. And you said about enough people. Here's the way I look at it. 80% of the people will follow anything and do anything. You see them all over. They eat crap. They buy corporate food. They eat corporate food. They have no minds. They've lost it. But they'll follow, good or bad. Whoever has the loudest voice, they'll follow. Other 10% are, I call the destroyers. These are the people that are destroying things in front of us. These are the greedy, the immoral. And again, I'm no preacher, man. I mean, I have my own life, I mean, I'd be the last guy to say, oh, yes, I did everything just right, No. I mean, as you get older, you try to learn more, and you try to make yourself better. So I'm not telling people what to do or how to act. I'm going to make that really clear.
I'll say it like you are a preacher, Gerald, because you're preaching the word here, man. You're doing God's work. I do believe that. Keep going.
Well, so anyway, then there's the 10% that you're talking about, the builders. And now it's time for the builders to move into position. And that's the way I see it now. Because the vacuum has never been greater. Yeah. You look at the clowns around the world. All right, let's go over to the UK. The little boy Cameron over there. Then you got his neighbor, Holland.
Little Cameron, he's so cute.
Isn't he? Yeah, I think he went to one of those boys' schools where they got a lot of problems when he was a kid, because he didn't come back with both of them. So anyway, then you got Holland over there. And he's in the same category. Another little loudmouth little boy with nothing behind him. You come to the States, you got Obama, man. An empty suit, if there ever was one, other than the empty suits before him with Bush.
Well, we could have had Romney's empty suit.
You could have Romney, again, Oh, by the way, if anybody's tired of voting for lesser of two evils, I'm saying Charles Manson 2016. Let's put a real evil in there. Enough of these lesser of two evils.
Get the lesser of evils. Go with the greatest evil you can do. If you're going to vote for a Republican Democrat, vote for Charles Manson.
Yeah, I mean, let's stop this lesser of two evils stuff. Let's go the full route. So then you keep going back, and I'm saying the vacuum has never been greater. Look at the politicians in play. I mean, what do you got? You got Boner over there. You got Pelosi. You have McConnell. You have Reid. I mean, come on. How can anybody take these people seriously? So what I'm saying is the vacuum is so large it could be filled with anything. So number one, occupy peace, no foreign entanglements, rebuild America. Bring all the troops home, close the bases, and the other part is rebuild America. All the money that we're wasting in these foreign wars, bring it back home, restore the nation.
You mentioned, and amen, and let's please plug occupypeace.us repeatedly throughout the rest of the program, because that's how you build a movement, is by getting this kind of underground movement started and getting the word out.
Well, this is above ground movement. This is not underground.
Well, my podcast, I want to remain underground for a little while, okay? That's all.
Okay. Yeah, but to occupy, no, this is going to be big. This could be one of the greatest movements that this nation has ever seen.
And that's what I guess I'm trying to say. I would like to help contribute from an underground angle to build occupypeace.us and the Occupy Peace movement itself into something that would truly help catalyze the change without the crash and crisis that goes back to that very first question I asked you about. Can we get there without these repeated or a major next crisis and depression or something, which gives you, but you hit on a word several times, vacuum. And you've talked about how there's a vacuum out there, and I think you're talking about of leadership perhaps, of some sort of tangible, meaningful, you can call it moral and ethical, if you want, ideas and politics that are not entangled in corporatism and warmongering and bank bailouts and Illuminati crap that I might call it. Why has the internet revolution not helped save us yet? What is the problem that that there hasn't been an Occupy Peace U.S. to succeed yet, and what will enable this one to go to the next level? Well,
there's another part, and I'll go to that in 1 second, because you asked, what could also with the parties. The other concept I believe in is direct democracy. Let the people vote. They do it in Switzerland. It's one of the most prosperous nations in the world. Everybody has a gun. They don't kill each other. The food's real good. They haven't been in a war since, 1857.
Not a bad idea.
So, and then people say, well, then you'd have mob rule. Well, you got mob rule now. They call the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yeah, it's worse than mob rule.
It's more worse than mob. We have 535 people telling 316 million of us how to tie our shoes.
It's elitist and wealth rule at this point, not anything. I mean, it's mob rule would actually, I think, be an improvement.
Exactly. And again, we get the future we deserve.
So why isn't the internet and social media like Scutify.com, which, by the way, I'm going to ask you afterwards when we're offline. I'd love to start featuring some of your articles and have you join Scutify.com, which is a social network and apps that I've bought from that my companies have built for Apple and Android, and we've got some really cool stuff, and I think we'd love to be involved with this movement and help make it go mainstream and take it to a true end game that enables the people to have some voice and power. So we're going back to that. Why
isn't it working? Here's why. Here's why. Look what's going on with Ukraine. Look at the propaganda campaign. The major media, even though less and less people are listening and watching, they still have great influence. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that Putin, I heard it right from Hillary Clinton herself. He said he's like a Hitler. I mean, she said it. I heard Schwabler say it over there in Germany. I'll tell you that Putin, man, he reminds me like Hitler.
Yeah. Today on Fox News, we interviewed XYZ, and they said that Putin's definitely a bad guy. And over on CNN, I also heard Putin was a bad guy.
There you go. So now it goes back to the 80%. And they get, and I'm telling you, I mean, I tell people, look, I don't have time for this BS. I don't want to talk to you about this. You know about Victoria Nuland? Well, I don't need to know about. Yes, you do need to know about that. How could you make a comment? I got in a discussion with a guy that's a journalist professor at one of the biggest colleges on the East Coast, and he didn't know anything about anything, and all of a sudden he had the Jews being murdered in Hungary if this thing continued. That's how out of mind this guy's mind was. I said, you're a journalist professor, and you don't even want to dig deeper into this? I said, no wonder why this system stinks.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying, to answer your question, the power is still there. Look at those little green men. Yeah, you know, them Russian guys over there without them insignias. Why, I picked up the paper of record, the New York Times, or I like to call it the toilet paper of record. And there they have a huge story about, straight from the State Department and their sources in the Ukraine government, that those guys over there in Donetsk and other areas, they're actually Russian soldiers. Here are the photos that are proof. It looked like the guy from Duck Dynasty. I mean, it was a joke.
No, because they actually have face masks on. You can't see their beard.
But again, it's been proven. It's a fact. It was false. But it did the job. Gerald, it did the job.
look, that's my question. I've got to wrap up the podcast, or I won't be able to get it uploaded right and everything. I want you to come back next time, and let's do this in another week or two. I'll reschedule it with Zeke and your people. I want you to talk about where and how, logistically and in reality, we are going to mobilize the people and finally leverage the power of the internet and these social networks and the ability to get a voice out there without the mainstream media and corporate money.
Okay.
All right. I got to ask you one last question before I let you go.
Okay.
Your favorite song? I'm gonna make it'll be the song of the day.
Oh, that's a tough one. Favorite song. Well, all right. Here's one for you. C'è la luna, mezzo mare, Louis Prima.
No, wait, I didn't even understand what you said.
C'è la luna, mezzo mare. Hey, that's how. Take a look at the moon. There's a great old song. You ever hear of Louis Prima?
I am
Louis Prima, Louis.
Here I think I am a music aficionado and I know nothing.
You don't know Louis Prima. Oh, man.
I'm going to go look up Louis Prima. That's the song of the day. People, thanks for tuning in to Cody Underground. It has been my honor to talk and get some wisdom and, you know what, preaching. Amen. A little bit the gospel from the man himself, Gerald Celente, publisher of TrendsJournal. Thanks so much, man. I'll do another one and we'll keep going with that.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.